Hey everyone, I'm Candace.
I'm Latoya.
And I'm Sherelle.
And we are
Sistas Unscripted.
Thank you so much for joining us.
We are completely unscripted, where we talk about all the things, all the shit, whatever we want, from the eyes of Black sisters. So stay and kick it with us.
Let's get into it.
Well, let's get into our next segment, which is we kind of maybe talk a little bit. I mean, I think we kind of done a little bit of this throughout the episode in general, but talk a little bit about who we are, what we do for single, married, kids, etc. So, I'll start being the oldest. I am currently in HR, and I tell people, I mean, I joke, but it's really true too. I babysit grown folks for a living because really that essentially is what HR is. Babysitting grown folks. But I'm grateful for the job for sure. Is it my passion? No. My passion is, creating. I love creating and just, performing, singing in particular. I feel like I'm best able to express myself through singing, and I emote very well when I'm singing. I don't know. I just feel something different when I'm when music is on and I'm singing it. I am currently single. I've been divorced twice, and I'm getting ready to come up on my 5-year divorcery.
Ayo.
Woohoo!
Sweet.
Super excited about that. Honestly, I love that I'm celebrating that part of my life now, because I used to be very, very embarrassed and ashamed of it, but I'm like, that's just part of my story. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person or, do I sometimes still feel like that every once in a while, low about it? Yeah. But for the most part, I'm like, I did what I needed to do. I learned what I need to learn, and I got 2 beautiful children out of it, and they're my entire world. And yeah, but I'm a single mom. I work, trying to, do some side hustle things, you know how we do. But that's me, kind of in a nutshell, at least there. What about you, Toy?
I always like to say that I'm an artist first, which took me a long time to say that.
Well, I think too, I don't mean to cut you off there, but I think too, a lot of people, particularly here in Utah, make it seem like, well, being an artist first is a hobby. It's like, no. Yeah. No, being an artist is a career.
Right, yeah.
And it's just as important as any other career.
It's very true. I don't know if we've mentioned that we are 3 Black sisters who grew up in Utah, and who currently are still in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that dynamic is definitely a different, interesting thing about the 3 of us. And yeah, the culture here in Utah is very much, just be grateful you have talent. And like that, because you need to share your talents, and that's it. And I'm very much an advocate of it's also career and work. As much as I love being a creator and all that stuff, and knowing that like being an artist doesn't mean you're going to be always financially supported in the ways like money and fame is not really like the thing. And at the same time, like you should get paid for your work.
Absolutely.
That you do. So I'm a proud Actors Equity Union member. I've been doing acting on the stage since college, if not earlier.
I would say high school.
Well, I mean, I started in junior high, like acting, like exploring acting, and then eventually really just like fell deeply in love with it instantly when I started to do it, and then did the whole college route, and then got my first like professional gig during college, and then still doing it today, which is really cool. So
she's real good, y'all.
Oh, thanks.
Seriously, she's a legend. But I'm gonna need her to make some legend monies.
Yes. Where's my legendary monies?
Let's go. She's an icon. Come on,
icon
monies. Manifestation. Let's do it.
But yeah, I like to say I'm an artist mostly because I do a lot of different things. I don't only act. I also sing. I also write. I also dabbling into directing for stage. Also dabbling into film as well. And so that's like where I always start up with. I'm an artist. Then I've also leaned into what I've been always doing in my career was equity, diversity, and inclusion in the arts. which is really important for me to make sure that representation and inclusion is happening in all art forms. And the ones that I actually am active in, which is the theater right now, that is something that I'm super passionate about. Get more BIPOC, Indigenous, and people of color on stages, on stage, behind stage, fighting for representation, like correct representation, and trying to capture when erasure is happening. Doing the best that I can. I don't have all the answers, obviously, and I never will. And I always try to do the best that I can and put my best efforts forward with that kind of work. So I also am a divorced person, which is interesting. You said, Can, about feeling a sense of like I'm glad you're celebrating it, and working through like moments of feeling embarrassed about it. And I remember just being like, I don't know if I've ever felt shame about it. I just was
Really?
like, yeah. It's just, for me, it was like, it's just made sense.
I'm envious of that.
Well, I don't know. It's just something.
Wow.
I'm not saying that like divorce is for everyone or what have you. Like people are going to navigate that in their own ways. And for me, I think everyone else tries to put that on me. Like, you should be ashamed of that. And I'm like, nah, I'm not ashamed of it. It just like, it was obvious that the person I was with, his trajectory and what he wanted and what his dreams and all those things just didn't match with mine anymore. We just grew in different directions, and that happens in life.
Oh, a lot of times.
So, and we tried as much as people like, you young kids don't know how to like fight for anything. When people say that. But we did try, and it wasn't going to work. And so being okay with that and being responsible with that was a big thing for the both of us. So I actually feel like I'm okay with it. Like, it was hard. I'm not going to say it didn't have its hard moments, but I don't feel any sense of shame or guilt about it. It just was like part of a chapter of my life that just needed to be closed. And so I can move on in the directions I needed to go.
So, for you.
Yeah.
I love that.
So
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
But you guys were also in like two different spaces when like your divorces happen. Like, Candace, I can see you probably had guilt because, your first husband, like, you guys got married young, you divorced young, and like, you can only really learn from like your experiences. And I just kind of think when you're young, you think that you're getting married forever, and then you divorce, and like your whole life is changing, and you're like, what am I supposed to do? So I could see you getting guilt from that. But then also like your second divorce, like you had kids, so you probably feel more guilt than normal.
Am I breaking up my family? Am I making the right choice? Mm-hmm. Yeah, am I making the right choice for them, for me?
Well, we come from a divorced family.
Yeah, we do.
So like, I think not necessarily the guilt, but like, I don't know what word might come to thoughts, but just being from a divorced family and then having your own divorce is something that you're like, oh no, am I gonna like put that in my genealogy track?
It's heart-wrenching.
It is. It's really, really hard. And also like, you gotta do what's best for you.
Sure.
If it's not working and like there's circumstances that really are not contributing to the health of the relationship as a whole, you gotta move on. You just have to.
Yeah.
For the health of self,
I think too, I think society's a lot more open to divorce now. But I think back then, especially too, also another fun fact or random fact of the three of us is we used to be part of the LDS church. So for me, my first divorce, the guilt of that alone being in the Mormon religion, that was hard because I was like, okay, I'm going to hell because we're getting divorced. Like there was a lot of guilt. There was a lot of guilt there. But also I think the mentality when we were younger too is like, you get married, you stay married, you don't get divorced. And I think when our parents divorced, it was like such a huge relief. But I also had told myself, I'm never going to get divorced. I'm going to always make sure that me and my person we're fighting through it. But sometimes like for me personally, you can't fight that fight alone. And not saying I was an angel, because like I definitely had my mistakes in both of my marriages, but I can honestly say I put in 200% of myself to make sure that they both worked. And sometimes they just don't work, and that's okay. It doesn't make any of us bad people. It doesn't make make, our exes bad people, just
Yeah.
we're all genuinely happier where we're at. And
Yeah.
honestly, I'd rather be here than where I was then.
Right.
So Sherelle, come on, it's your turn now. Being the youngest. Who are you? What do you do? Do you have a boyfriend? Single?
I'm Sherelle with an apostrophe, right? So I play video games, and that's basically my life.
She's good at video games. Like, who taught you that, though?
Yeah, who did?
Well, yeah, definitely. Like when we were younger, we played.
Listen, that was not the question. Who taught you?
I don't feel like you taught me anything.
But yet, just on our family vacation, you were saying I was the OG, and I was throwing it down.
That's true.
In the video game land.
Because you taught me anything. I just played video games, and I learned how to play video games.
Listen, she was making it seem like I helped her get to where she is now, because she's pretty badass when it comes to video games now.
Ain't that a younger sister, older sister dynamic? Boop, boop, ba-doo.
No, it's definitely pretty good. Like whenever we needed reinforcements, we called out the big guns, and that was Candace.
Okay, thank you. That's all I'm asking for. It's just a little bit of credit.
But just to clarify, that's not her teaching me shit.
Touche. I'll take it.
Yeah, I worked a lot, and I'm kind of in a transition space right now where I am just going from a complicated life to a more simpler life, so we can have more of like a work-life balance. So I just cut hair full-time, and I just like to hang out with friends on my off time, so nothing too crazy. Yeah, I'm pretty simple now.
She says she's pretty simple, but she's complex as hell.
How am I complex,
She really is.
We're going to find out through this entire season.
Yep. Remember? Unscripted sisters. Sisters unscripted.
So let's get into the Mythbuster section. So for all you white folk out there that aren't ballsy enough to ask black folk the tough questions, don't worry, we got you. Welcome to Mythbusters, the segment where we answer white folks' curious questions about black people. If you have a question that you want to ask us, you can email us at sistasunscripted@gmail.com. That is sistasunscripted@gmail.com. So who wants to do the first myth? I think Sherelle does.
Okay. Question for you guys.
For us or for our members that are listeners?
Let's have a conversation about it. So, can black people tan/sunburn?
Oh my goodness, we got this so much growing up. I still get it to this day.
I do too.
All the time.
What have you experienced? What is your experience?
Yes, I have. I do tan and I sunburn.
Yep.
All the time. I have to wear sunscreen like everybody else.
Is it because you're not as melanated?
No, I think...
I don't know how to answer that. I want to ask that without
I just think, we all have skin. We all have to protect it. It doesn't matter what shade of melanin we are. We all can get skin cancer.
It's true.
So wear your sunscreen, Like I burn just like the next person.
Yeah. I went on a hike a few weeks back and I forgot to put sunscreen on my face. And then when I got home, because I was like, oh, it's a cloudy day. Like, it's not, like, it's fine. Was not. Don't do what I did, y'all. Don't do it. Just put the sunscreen on your face. Mm-hmm. But I got home, and then I was like, wait, is my face red? I was like, dang, did I get a sunburn? I showed.
Womp womp.
Put the sunscreen on. Put it on.
Did y'all put any sunscreen on when we were out on vacation last time?
Hell no.
You didn't?
Really?
Wait, just kidding, I did. Only once, though.
I'm like, I sure did.
I did too.
Yeah. I think, yes. I agree with what you said, Ken. Of course, like, skin is skin and everyone burns. Yeah, protect it. But I do think, like, did you guys ever have, and I tell people this to this day, but... that part was completely irrelevant, telling people to this day. Who cares about that? But I still tell people to this day. So, like, did you guys ever have that experiment, like, when you were younger? Like, there was a white piece, or there was a white shirt and a black shirt, and the teacher left him outside for like an hour?
No.
You never did that?
No.
Okay. Well, my teacher did that in first grade. Okay. And so she was like, which shirt do you think is hotter? And then everyone's like, the white shirt. And then she's like, I don't know. Go feel it. And then everyone's like, oh, it's the black shirt. And then you like understand like through science that, why are you guys shaking your heads at me?
Oh, no, I didn't. No, I was listening.
No.
We'll get into it. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Continue.
Anyway, I was like, Anyway, through science, you realize that sun rays are attracted to darker pigments. And, like, that's, that has to do with, like those that get laser, like, hair or, laser removal, hair removal, whatever. Same thing, right? So I do feel that the darker you are as skin tone, the more you could potentially sunburn because the sun is more attracted to darker skin than is lighter skin. So to be fair, my personal belief is you don't burn as much as I do or as much as LaToya does. So I feel the lighter skin people, yes, you still have to protect your skin, but you maybe have a little bit more grace than like darker complex people.
Well, what's interesting about that is because like I have a coworker and she's pale of all pale, and she sunburns so quick. So what do you think that's about? Because literally, like, she's a lobster.
Because she doesn't have any. That's a good question. This is taking me back to like hair school or something like that. I don't know. But I think it's something because pale people, they don't really have any melanin, something like that. But melanin also comes with some sort of like protection. And because they don't have that protection, they also burn.
I can Google it.
Something like that.
I know. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that.
I know it's like some science stuff. Like I know that actually people who, I mean, I don't know, but I've heard that people who have more pigment in their skin, who are more melanated, actually are more subject to skin cancer.
Really?
Which would make sense.
You absorb like the darker like pigments and stuff
Right.
actually absorb more of the sun. And I don't know what that means for people who aren't as melanated, but
Right.
I don't know if we still can sunburn, obviously,
Right.
And also, I think it's a little harder, but than people who are not as melanated.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that it doesn't take away from the fact that you can still, more melanated you actually might be a higher percentage of getting skin cancer.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, and I could be wrong too. I mean, I definitely haven't done my research, so I can't sit there and say like I'm a scientist. But like to me, that's what logically would make sense, just based off of what I learned in the first grade. I also haven't looked into like if there's any science behind that.
Melanin helps block out damaging UV rays up to a point, which is why people with naturally darker skin are less likely to get sunburned, while people with lighter skin are more likely to burn.
What the hell?
Interesting.
So like opposite?
The opposite. Yeah.
What? And that
So,
was,
like-
sorry, did that hurt your
But
guys'
see,
ears?
here's the thing. It can block UV rays, but it still can get more into your skin if you're melanated, I think.
Okay, so that's
versus-
talking about the UV rays. Is the UV rays, so the more pigmented you are, the more it blocks the UV rays?
What race gets sunburned the most? A study in JAMA. I got it deep. This is like 2019, so this could be so outdated. JAMA, I don't know if I'm saying it right, dermatology notes that based on data from over 30,000 people, around 13.2% of Black people and 29.7% of, I don't like this word, other melanated folks experience sunburn, compared with 42.5% of white folks. It can be more difficult to detect sun damage in very dark skin due to the skin's pigmentation.
So can you rephrase that in like, can you dumb that down for us a little bit?
Yeah, so like 13%, like I'm gonna round down.
No, so who just burns more?
White folks do.
Oh my gosh. So
But the
my
thing
theory
is-
was wrong.
yeah.
I thought it was us.
No, No, but the thing is, it says it can be more difficult to detect sun damage in very dark skin.
Right.
Due to the skin's pigmentation. So the whole skin cancer thing might be like some truth to that.
Right.
So basically what they're saying is this is what our studies show. However, it could be skewed because we really can't get all the data in darker skinned people because it's harder to figure it out, basically, right? All right.
So let me just tell you, I was doing the eye roll for a reason because I don't know what it is about Utah teachers. Well, not all Utah, not all Utah teachers, but like when we were growing up, because taking the whole black and white thing, like it just reminded me of a situation. I think I was in first grade as well, and maybe we have the same teacher. I don't know. So I know we went to the same school at some point, and then when mom and dad divorced.
No. We didn't have it.
We didn't go to the same school at all? Not necessarily at the same time, but...
No, I went to a completely different elementary school.
Okay. Well, that's interesting then. So let's...
Wait, what elementary school did you go to?
Probably not going to talk about that.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Sorry.
So...
I just got real into it.
Bitch, you crazy?
So anyway...
Are you? We're the same siblings,
So...
I am if you are.
I thought it was interesting because I think it was my first grade teacher. I remember there was a situation where a white student was talking to me about my skin color or whatnot. And the teacher overheard the conversation and she came up to us and she brought a white crayon and a black crayon. And she came up to us and she's like, "What color is this crayon?" And we'd say, white or black. And she's like, "What color is your skin?" And then we'd obviously say something else because, if we're looking at it, obviously we're not black, because we're not compared to the crayon, but I'm just like, come on, honey. Like even at that young age, I was like, really?
Yeah. Like,
come on now. I'm black, honey.
You know how many times I've heard that story from people? Like literally from black folks. I'm like, y'all, I have to say to that. I mean, trying to teach a lesson that never was asked to be taught. Mind your business. I say it with love.
Hearts. Yeah, no, I just thought that was interesting that the teacher that you had in first grade kind of did kind of a similar concept, almost in a way, sort of, bringing out the white shirt and the dark shirt and which one absorbs more heat, like, I don't know. It just reminded me of that.
I can see where you're coming from. When I learned it, I didn't learn it as I didn't take it as that.
Oh, for sure. No, I definitely don't see it like that, but that's what it reminded me of.
For sure. I understand what you're saying.
So, but yeah, that's interesting. Do we have any other Mythbusters that we want to, or do we want to move on?
All right.
Maybe one more?
Let's do one more.
All right. Last.
Oh, no, I'm scared.
I hate this. Are all black people related?
Oh my gosh.
No, clearly, obviously this sounds like the obvious answer is hell no. Okay? Obviously, no, we're not all related. Okay?
I'm going to say this.
No, stop.
My bad, sorry.
You can be next.
My bad.
I gotta fight for some time between you guys.
Do you?
No, I'm just kidding. Actually, you guys do really good. And I appreciate that. But anyway, most of the time. What I will say though is, obviously no, we're not. But I would say in Utah, what's frustrating is that, I would say black people are of the minority here, where Caucasians are of the majority.
Yeah, we're 2%, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. And so, people would, consistently ask, there's a random black person that they see, and then they see me oh, is that your mom? Oh, is that your sister? I worked at BK, Burger King, we talked about when I was 16, and my manager was black, love her to death, and someone thought that she was my mom, and I'm like, what? Come on now. That's so frustrating.
I wish people would sometimes take their own ideas and reverse it and actually hear them say it to people like them. So they hear it coming from themselves about each other. Yeah. And then maybe they would understand how stupid that sounds. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I would say, I think people just, not all people, and not all people from Utah. And I will say, I think people don't know how to connect with other people that don't look like them because they just, I don't know.
I live in Pleasantville, I feel like.
Well,
The movie.
Oh yeah. Well, some parts of Utah definitely are like, oh, you definitely need to live in some color, my
For real.
friends. But I think like people are so they don't know how to connect, so they go to like really absurd spaces to connect. If that makes sense, I'm not giving an excuse.
Right.
And I will say this: if people believe that, I'm like, if you think 2 + 2 is 5, then you can have it. Like, I'm not here to keep fighting for that stuff.
Girl, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram. She's like, if you think 1 + 1 is 3, you're absolutely correct.
Yep. I was like, whatever.
Congratulations. You know?
I was like, I don't know this man. Sorry to this man. Like, is it that? Like, I don't know. I just think it's funny. And I do agree, like, stop and really think before you speak. And like, you can do that for yourself. If you think it's absurd, then maybe just say hi. How are you?
Right.
And that's it.
You don't need to be like, so where are you from? You know, like, I mean, I know a lot of people ask that question, but like, I think, I don't know, that's a whole different debate, I think, going into, you know, understanding people's intentions or their tone when they're talking to you. But, like, I think there's some people that would ask where you're from and it comes across as if like, what, do I not seem like I'm from here? I'm American just like you know? Yeah. But anyway, that's not the point. But I think just here in Utah in particular, it's interesting, especially being an actor. I've had so many interesting meet and greets with the audience members, and they'll say things like, "Hey, did they ship you guys off from Africa?"
Like what?
Like really, like straight up said those words. Or are you guys all related? You know, and they've asked us, like, no, we're
all 40 of us?
for real, right?
We all come from the same family.
Oh my gosh.
You know, when they ask questions like that, I just say things like, are you related to that person?
Do you really?
For sure.
Oh, I like that, actually.
Oh my gosh. There was like this one time, it wasn't actually in Utah, it was actually in Idaho, where I was with 2 other actors who were Black as well. And we were just like walking, we were going to get some ice cream. And a bunch of white folks were there, which, I mean, it's Idaho. And they all turned and stared at us.
Ooh.
And we were like, okay. And then my friend literally he was like, he stopped and looked at himself and goes, oh, is it because I'm Black? Kind of thing. And I was like, dang, you did that. Props.
like, and I feel sometimes people need that too, like to respond with like the obvious.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like sometimes we'll just like jolt people and be like, because like you're not being rude about it.
Well, I think too in Utah, there's just this idea of we have to let other people's feelings down gently. You know, like in a way, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense.
But kind of like it's almost like we're responsible for their feelings and how we, you know, respond to them, or, you know, it's like, no, we're responsible for our own feelings. But yeah, there's been several times where I've wanted to kind of go that route that you've done, Sherelle, but I feel like I would hurt their feelings. And there've been a very few times I've done that and it has hurt people's feelings. I'm like, well, but it's the truth, you know, like,
I mean, yeah, facts are facts. That's what I would say. Like, sometimes people's feelings need to be, if it's hurt, that's on you, though.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm not going to try to self-regulate for yourself, like for you, outside of like, I'm just going to say what it is, you know, and if it hurts you because it's fact, then like you get to self-evaluate that, you know? So like, I'm going to speak the obvious, and it's not me intentionally trying to hurt you, but if you receive it like that, then that's you. That's on you. And so you have to ask yourself the question, like, why am I receiving it like that? Because I'm like, are you getting stared at all the time? Are people coming up to you asking those questions? Right. Like, you know, people just have to be more aware and of like how you connect with people. And especially after like all the things that we've experienced for the last like 3-4 years, coming back from COVID, like social interactions are very difficult still. And how we come back slowly into how we connect with each other I think it's you have to be responsible for that kind of stuff. So
Totally agree.
if you think it's a ridiculous question, it's a ridiculous question.
Yep.
You know, when it comes to people's like, where are you from? And like, what's your intention behind it? Oh, you know, I grew up here in Utah, and they're going to be like, oh, you're from here. Yeah, what part? Oh, then we can have a conversation, you know, or it throws them off guard. If they really wanted to really know, then they're going to continue the conversation. If they don't really want to know and they're actually looking for something else, then they're going to get all tongue tied and they're going to probably abort the conversation.
Right.
You know,
right.
So you can, if you're if that concern is something for you that you want to like bring into just more self-awareness, because it's not our job to educate people either. And I also like to ask questions. I'm that person who's like,
same.
oh, why are you asking? And just to see how they respond. And then it's like, you know, it opens up a lot of self-reflection.
I was just going to say that, self-reflection, because then they really have to think, oh, well, why did I ask that question?
Exactly. And I'm like, you get to do that work. May I get a number 2? Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Oh my goodness.
My take on that is, sorry.
No,
were you
go
gonna say
ahead.
something?
Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Nope, I'm sure.
I feel like in those types of situations, for me, in my mind, it's either, you know, I just go with it, or like I educate them, or like or I make a joke about it. And like for me, I feel if I educate people, like that's where I feel uncomfortable, because I do dabble with the whole like, am I going to hurt their feelings? And I don't know, because I overanalyze how I am when I do educate people. I don't feel comfortable with that. So it's easier for me to just make a joke about it. Because then, like, when I roast people, it's like, that's how
it
I
hurts.
show.
Her roasting hurts, like stings.
That's how you know I love you. If it stings, it stings of my love. But like, that's facts. You know, like if I care, like there is a little bit of a gut punch to it. So like, why not? You know what I mean? Like that's what I feel comfortable with. And so like, if I'm just going to do what I feel comfortable and show like how I care, and be like, I don't think that made any fucking sense.
Oh, it makes
You censored yourself.
It's time to wrap it up. So we just
wrap it up.
You know what? Hang on. Speaking of wrap it up, I will just let's end it with this, okay? Oh wait, well there's some other things that we're ending with, but we'll end the conversation leading into closing thoughts by, did you know the legislation in Utah, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly and saying it correctly, but there was a teacher, okay, to give some context, there was a teacher that I cutting hair a few days ago, and he was we were talking about just the children, how we feel that Utah, just in general, Utah could be better, and I'm talking about like parents and adults, how Utah could be better at protecting our children. So, and he said that legislation just passed a law that schools cannot say condoms. Schools cannot educate at all about sex. They can't even say STDs.
Oh my gosh, really?
They can't, gosh, what else? If
Are
they
we in
talk
Florida?
anything, right? If they talk anything about sex, it has to be abstinence. They cannot talk about drugs or anything like that.
Wow.
No drug education, which is very, very scary, because at his school last year, there was a second grader who almost died because they found a bag of cocaine in their parents' room, and they thought that it was powdered sugar, and they ate it all. So,
oh my gosh.
I'm just reminding you, tell what you're doing to yourselves. Anyway,
No,
so-
actually, I mean, I'm not surprised. Actually, I mean, I guess maybe it's a little both. I am surprised and not surprised at the same time, because that is real. I'm like, unfortunately in Utah, adults need to be better, especially those who are in those positions, to do their research. It actually has been proven, when you do not educate the youth about sex and to prevent like STDs and pregnancy and all that stuff that they're trying to do by not talking about it, it actually increases the percentage of how many young teenagers get pregnant and get STDs. It actually is like in Utah, it's actually a pretty high percentage because of those kinds of laws that are in practice, because they think you're protecting children when you're actually doing the opposite.
That's crazy.
Yeah, reverse psychology is a freaking thing.
Yeah.
If you say don't, or you tell people that they can't, they're going to want, and they will.
Yep. The more you...
And kids are prime examples of that.
Well, what's interesting about that too is I guarantee those same people that want that law to be, I think they're saying, well, we just want to educate our kids ourselves. Well, are you educating them?
They ain't.
They're not. That's the thing. They're keeping it hush hush just as much as the schools are.
A really good musical / play to read is called Spring Awakening, if you want to look into that, because it actually is an old play. I think it was a German play back in like the 1800s. I could be so wrong. And they made it into a modern musical back in like the early 2000s. But it talks about that very thing, about how the adults in the story do not talk about sex and all those things and like feelings when you're a teenager going like, you know, you start going through puberty, and they do not talk about it because it's like for like parents are being ridiculous. Okay, that's a straightforward way to say it. And one of the main characters has sex and gets pregnant and has no idea that that's happening to her body.
Oh wow. How scary would that be, though?
Oh, horrifying. And she goes to her, there's a scene where she goes to her mom. She's like, what is happening to me? And her mom doesn't even answer it. But she takes her to basically get rid of the baby, and it kills her.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just saying, like...
History repeats itself, people. Stop that from happening.
And that's a play from the 1800s.
Wow, that's crazy.
And, like, that musical was really successful, but that stuff is still happening today.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
Let's not do that anymore. Let's be more responsible with our information. The reason why we have the information is to share it so we can actually, like, do better.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. Get into it.
Get into it.
Speaking of getting into it, let's closing out.
Let's get out of
Let's
it.
close out.
We really just want to thank you for tuning into this week's episode. If you're interested in sending us ideas for topics or just have questions for us, again, you can email us at sistasunscripted@gmail.com. You can also follow us on IG or Instagram. Our handle is Sistas Unscripted, and there you'll just see updates and fun footage of us acting a fool and us just being us. So, but again, thank you so much for joining us this week, and we hope that you enjoyed our episode, and we hope you find little joys throughout the week, and that we catch you next
Joys,
episode.
find little joys in the week.
Or as for
Educate your kids. Bitches, get those kids educated. Close out with those kids. Educate.
I was gonna
Go ahead, Victoria.
We hope you find little joys throughout the week, and we'll catch you next episode. Sistas out!